We're going to start this analysis at the partway back point. What we notice especially is that already he's got his club way at this angle, way off over here. And what we'd really rather see is him have rotated his shoulders more at this point, so that his hands are still in front of him instead of sitting so far back. We'll go to the top of the backswing. It's not too bad. He's got a good drop in the right shoulder. Then he's going to drive down to the ball. And he's just not driving his hips through. Right here, if we look right there, as we see there's no rotation that way of the right hip passing, and he ends up flat-footed right there. So we're going to work a little bit on him getting his weight moving forward. He's got a nice high finish, pretty good athleticism. So we can just get him turning into the shot. It won't be such hard for him anymore. We see a pretty decent setup here. Nice straight back, back's angled to about 1 o'clock like it should be. Little flex in the knees. The shoulders are a little left of the target line. If you notice that the feet are pointing to the right and the shoulders aren't like that, from this angle I should be able to see his left arm above his right arm if his shoulders were parallel. Let's watch the takeaway now. Not bad, taking it little to the inside. Gets that right knee kind of locked up right there. I'd like to see that knee stay a little more flexed. Drops down. All pretty good move right there, driving into the ball. Not too bad there. Nice straight left arm. Rotates through to the impact zone. Just a little late with the hips right there. Putting a lot of strain on his back, especially his lower back. At this point now, his hips should be up. His right heel should be off the ground. Should be driving more into the ball. But look at the rotation. Very strong golfer. Good shooter. Here we have a left-handed junior golfer. The setup, he could have the ball a little further forward, more towards his lead foot. His grips, his hands are a little far apart, but then again, he's pretty young, pretty small, and still trying to learn how to handle the club. Pretty decent takeaway right there. Taking it just a little too far to the inside, but he's keeping his left arm nice and straight. At this point, what I'd like to see is that the lead shoulder, that right shoulder, is down more. And then he's going to drive nicely into the ball. Get a lot of torque into the ball right about here. Here we go. Moving into the ball. This is a really nice move right here, especially with a big long club that he's got. But he stops moving forward. It ends up falling backwards here. And that's why he tops the ball. If he'd have kept moving forward, that would have been a really good swing. Here we see the golfer at setup. I would like to see the left hip closer to the red line so that the hips are kind of forward pressed. Let's watch the takeaway now. Pretty good takeaway. Good turn. A lot of rotation there on the shoulders down. Now he's driving into the shot pretty nicely right there. Look at that. Look at the lag he's generating. Coming in through to impact. Now the only issue here is that his right hand is under the club instead of rotated over the top of the club. But you can see that he's moved into the shot very nicely. We just need to get him to rotate the hands a little earlier. But all in all, that was a pretty good swing. Let's go ahead and watch this swing in slow motion. Nice takeaway, good wrist hinge. Drives into the ball nicely and then just sort of stops. So what happens is when we get right into the impact areas, there's no more forward momentum right there. So the club is passing the hands too early. Left elbow starts to break and points up to the sky rather than down to the ground. Still a little chicken wing going on there. No rotation. You can see that the right hand is under the club. I never get to see the glove fingers of the left hand. We need more pronation and supination, especially the supination. We see a pretty good setup here. What we'll notice is on the backswing, he collapses and brings the hands in very close to his shoulders. Pretty good rotation there. Get a little far behind him there. But as you reach there, now see right there, he's too close to his shoulders. The arms have pulled in. There's no width in his swing anymore, so it's a reduction of power. Then he moves into the shot pretty nicely. Gets a good settling into the shot. Turns nicely into the shot. Rotates through. Loses a little balance. All in all, not too bad. Let's just build a little bit more width on the takeaway. Get those hands as far away from your ear as you can. Let's go ahead and watch this swing in slow motion. Nice takeaway. Turns through the shot pretty good. Loses a little balance. The reason we're losing balance is because as we get up to this point here, she's not relaxing. She's all tensed up, and the club is stopping there. And it won't stop there on its own. It's you fighting to keep that club from releasing. That's what's causing you to fall forward. So we're going to try to get you to be a little bit more relaxed, swing through, and then just let the club rotate around behind you. Don't try to get your hands so far out in front of you. Here we see a setup kind of reminiscent of Mo Norman. Not a lot of flex in the knees, the arms straight out on a straight line through the club down to the golf ball. Called Natural Golf. Mo out of Canada did this. Great ball striker. See a little lifting going on here. Not a bad position right there. And then she drives down to the golf ball. Pretty good. Gets a lot of rotation as she comes down to the golf ball. Just misses it by a little bit. I think if she worked a little bit more on forward momentum, instead of trying to hit it so hard, she'll do better. The main thing we're going to notice here with this golfer is that she lifts or straightens her spine at the top of her backswing. So she turns back pretty nicely, but then lifts right up out of the shot, really high. And notice that her shoulders are now almost level rather than pointing down to the golf ball. Then she has to drive back down, and it's really hard to get down to the golf ball and get to exactly the right spot. So she ends up topping the ball and not getting good contact. So we're going to work on her keeping her spine angle the same throughout the entire swing. She's very athletic, and I think if we can accomplish her staying forward over the ball, chest over the ball more, she's going to do a lot better. Here we have another natural golfer doing a little emulation of Mo Norman. The key here is to just fold and unfold the right arm. And as he's folding it, he's doing a pretty nice job folding it, getting the club up to his right shoulder, very nicely positioned there. And then he's going to just straighten the hands right back at the golf ball. The problem is he's not going any forward momentum. He's not driving the right side through the shot. So he ends up a little stiff and not able to stand straight up like Mo. So we're going to get him to drive a little bit more into the lead side. This isn't too bad of a setup. Again, I'd like to have the hips pushed a little bit towards the target line a little bit more, towards where the target is. But the main problem here is as he comes into the golf ball through impact, he doesn't rotate the hands right there. So he gets this big chicken wing, this big separation between the elbows. And what that does is that diminishes power. And that's because he's not rotating the hips at all into the swing. There's no rotation that way with the hips. So we need to get him to rotate through more so he doesn't end up flat-footed on both feet. Here we have a very classic and strong setup. Let's go ahead and draw the swing plane in. See how steady I was with the camera. I like the setup a lot. Taking the club back a little too far to the inside, so she's got it stuck behind her a little bit. Then she's going to come up over the top in a pretty good position right there. Now if she can just drop her hands down and come in under that red line, she'll do good. Not too bad. Look at that, returning the club right back to where she was at setup, turning through the shot. Pretty good rotation. That was really well done, and this is a beginner golfer. That's a good job. Here we see a pretty good setup and a pretty good swing, but she just misses the ball. And a lot of that is because the downswing doesn't produce a down motion. We want to get ready to leap. So in order to leap, we have to go down. So what we'll see here is she comes up. She gets, see up here, she's actually lifted up. Everything is raised up. And then as she drives back down to the golf ball, nothing goes back down to where it should. So she just ends up swinging right over the top of the golf ball. So we need to get her to drive down to the golf ball. Other than that, it's a really good turn. Let's watch the takeaway here. He starts the club back pretty nicely. The club is outside the hands. Right now it's bisecting the right forearm like it's supposed to. Driving it up right to his shoulder. Very nice turn. There's a little dropping. Now at this point, we'd like to see the club get routed a little bit more down that way, and he's routing it in the opposite direction. You'll see this here. So he's coming over the top again. So he loses some club lag and some accuracy. So we just got to reroute the club more to the inside on the way down. We're going to start this analysis from right here. Nice high hands. The club face is parallel with the left forearm. She's in a wonderful position here. Both legs have maintained their flex. Her butt's out behind her. Her spine angle still set. She's definitely in the waiter position with the right elbow down, knuckles to the sky of the back of the left hand. Now let's watch her drive down to the golf ball. She's going to drop that club down to a little bit over the top, but not too bad. See, it's a little outside the hands on the way down. We'd like to see the club more inside than that. So she's going to cut across a little bit, and then she's a little late in driving her hips through. But other than that, what a nice swing. Good position on the finish again, right back to the waiter position. Elbow down, left forearm parallel to the ground. Left upper arm parallel to the ground. Very nice. Good job. Let's watch as this golfer moves into the impact position. What we're going to see is a very static golfer with the lower body. He has a nice shoulder turn, but as he moves into the ball, his legs, hips, thighs aren't doing much of anything at all. Good takeaway. Watch this. As he moves into the golf ball, he just sort of stands there. That's what we call an arm swing. Just slapping at it. Doesn't get a lot of torque through it. Won't get any distance to speak of. The turn all happens afterwards. So the club is pulling him around rather than his turn pulling the club around. Here we see a nice setup. Let's watch the swing back in slow motion. Right on the red line, right back down to the red line. What he did, though, was he raised his hands up at impact. See how his hands are quite a bit higher than they were? And then he's pulling away from the shot. If he could have dropped his hands down to the red line, more like they were at setup, see where they are here coming in? Then he's going to have a lot better accuracy and more impact. Plus, we're not getting him to get off his right side enough. We see a good setup here. Let's watch this swing in slow motion. There goes the club too far behind him and a little bit of lifting and then over the top. But he is turning better, more relaxed, not as rushed as he used to be. So we're making some really good progress here. We just really want to try to get rid of this little looping way to the inside and then up over the top like that. If we can get rid of that, he's going to have a much more consistent swing and ball contact. What we see here is a golfer wearing leg braces. Not really, but it's going to look like he has when we watch his swing here in slow motion. You're not going to see any dynamic action of the lower body. He just stands there, swings, and slaps at the ball. And when he never used to do that. He's noticing a lack of distance and no compression on the ball, and that's because he's not being active with his legs. So we worked with him a little bit yesterday, getting him active with his legs, and I think we'll see a real progress over the next few weeks.